Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Deal with D and J. I'm your co-host, Jacob Pearl. Alongside me is DJ Delightful McCatherine. How are we, sir? It's been a while. You took a little absence.
I took a little absence there. I had a little bit of a vacation. We're just busy people. It's the busy season right now for us in the sports world, or just working in general. Well, in this case, just the two of us. We're extremely busy. But good to be back. Good to talk some NFL draft with you, Jake. And for the fans out there, got a lot to cover.
Yep, it's one of the best times of the year. It's my favorite episode every single year, which is the mock draft episode. DJ, here's some parameters. Here's some parameters for the people. DJ will have all the odd picks plus the Cleveland Browns. That is his favorite team, so he will get those picks. I will get all the evens, but in the event that the Browns have two even picks, DJ will go like numbers 5 and 6. I'll go 7 and 8. He'll go pick 19 and 20. I'll go 21, 22. Then we get back on track. I believe that's how I have it set up. Whatever picks I texted you are the picks.
I just rolled 5, 6, 7, and then I rolled 23, 24, 25. But if you want to pick up whatever I get afterwards, then that's fine. It doesn't matter.
I just figured out you do 2, I do 2. Keep it easy.
Are you not picking up the Jags ones, or the Jags? Oh, the Jags don't have a first-round pick.
Jags don't have a first-round pick, so it's just Minnesota. So that throws a little bit of a wrench into everything in terms of the balancing of the picks.
Oh, well, it sure as hell got me off guard because now my picks are off.
Your picks are going to be fine.
We're gonna roll with the punches.
Your picks are fine. Again, same as always, we will act like we are the GM of the team. We're not going to do what we think the team is trying to do. We're going to, if we were the GM, who would we pick in this situation? And without further, there also is no trades, 0 trades, except for the trades that have already been made. So we're not doing in-draft trades. So like Cincinnati and New York's trade, that has been updated in this show, with the Giants having 2 top 10 picks now. So without further ado, DJ, you are officially on the clock as the Las Vegas Raiders. Go ahead and kick us off.
I think there's only 2 choices at the top here, but I think the Las Vegas Raiders, and if I'm the Las Vegas Raider, I'm thinking for my future right here, and I don't think that this is going to come as a surprise for anybody, but with the first overall pick, we're going with Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana, 3,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions in his time, or in his final year, or only year at Indiana, excuse me. Nothing but improvement from him, coming from Cal, operated the offense perfectly, really. He's going to have an awesome backfield with Genty. They've definitely got some work to do on the offensive line, and especially on that defense, but I think as far as the acquisition of Kirk Cousins, I hope they don't take the Atlanta Falcons route, shout out to Drew, and they just fumble what they did with Kirk Cousins and having Penix behind him. I hope Mendoza comes in, learns from Kirk Cousins, and they get to move forward in this whole shindig. And I think that's my prediction as to what they're going to do. So Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana, first overall pick. I believe the first Indiana first overall pick as well. So shout out to the Hoosiers.
Yep, I believe that is, pretty accurate there. I agree with the pick. I like Mendoza. I think he's the best quarterback in this class. You can make the argument for Simpson being the 2, but I think Mendoza sitting a year behind Cousins is going to be beneficial for him, so I love the Mendoza pick. I have the Jets. This is kind of where the draft starts, and I think if you're the Jets, you have another pick in the middle of the first. Aaron Glenn, I think, needs to get an elite pass rusher for him, and I'm between 2 guys. I'm in between Arvell Reese and David Bailey of Texas Tech. Reese is a little bit more ceiling probably, but it's more of a risk than Bailey. I've watched both guys. I love both of their tapes. But I love David Bailey's tape more. So I'm taking David Bailey at the 2nd overall, from Texas Tech, going to the Jets. They just need that elite pass rusher. He's got the best hands. He wins most of his one-on-ones. He was so dominant at Texas Tech and Stanford that the tape, to me, with Arvell Reese is right there. But I'd rather get a little bit more of a sure thing than a little bit more of a project with Arvell Reese. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, DJ's an Ohio State fan, so he's probably mad that I even consider that. But DJ, you're on the clock with the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, I can tell you that it's not going to be, you won't be searching far for my pick, as the number 3 pick goes to the Cardinals, and we'll be picking Arvell Reese from Ohio State. To Jacob's point, Arvell Reese was a freaking stud, 34 solo tackles, 6.5 sacks. Did not have the turnover ratio that oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Tate? You just said Tate? No.
David Bailey.
Gosh. David Bailey. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my draft board and getting names. David Bailey doesn't have the turnover ratio that David Bailey has, but just instinctual. He's quick. And he can play a zone very well. He's a ball hawk. He tracks down your ball carrier, and he's just a physical human being. 6'4", 245 pounds, just a solid human being. I think this is going to dramatically improve Arizona's defense, especially depending on where you decide to put him, whether it's the linebacker position or maybe you even move him up to a defensive end position, and have him help you there, or kind of that hybrid role. He does very well and did very well for Ohio State. So absolute monster. Arvell Reese.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm the Cardinals, this is probably a position of maybe trading out, just with the fact of like, I love the Arvell Reese pick. They need to match that up with Josh Sweat. I don't know, just in case, like if you get someone who really wants to jump up that high, like I'm okay with them maybe wanting to be like, yeah, we'll trade out of it. Could also see them going like Jeremiah Love, but we'll see.
Well, they have who do they have back there now? James Conner.
Yep, and Trey Benson.
I don't know. That could be kind of ballsy. I mean, they'd have to get a good trade offer for the running backs that they've had. But I like Jeremiah Love's great and all, but he's kind of got a surefire thing with James Conner back there and how productive
he's just old.
Been, so.
He's just really old.
Yeah.
Much older. But Trey Benson, they spent some decent capital on him, so they'll work with Benson. So that goes to Tennessee for me. And if I'm Tennessee, I'm a little bit in between two. I'm in offense mode. Which way on offense do I want to go? Trenches, wide receiver, or running back? You kind of need all of it. I think if I'm the Titans, I think it's time to invest in the run game and establish a play action and all that stuff. But with Robert Saleh, he may want to go defense, but I think, to me, Jeremiah Love should not be on the board that very long. I think he's the best running back in the class. I think he's arguably significantly better than, not significant, but I think he's better than Ashton Genty in terms of a prospect to prospect head-to-head comparison. Just Jeremiah Love's ability to maybe catch balls out of the backfield, give him a little bit of a higher edge. Obviously, they still have Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, but Tajay Spears hasn't been able to take over the reins like you want him to, and Tony Pollard's getting older. I think you compare him up with Cam Ward. The wide receiver room is still growing. I think this is a good spot for Jeremiah Love. Dable's there. He was part of the crew. I believe helped get Barkley or just after that, but I like Jeremiah Love at the 4 spot.
Yeah, I don't expect him to be on the board long. It's just interesting where people decide to pick up running backs, and it's just the variability. You can't risk him lasting till the second round, and picking him up so high is such a bold move for, depending on the style of offense you run, than just the necessity for a running back. Like, he's a stud. You're not going to pick him up in the second round, but he's not going to be there for very long regardless. So that's a very solid pick, kind of predictable, kind of chalk, but very good for even the history of the Titans in picking running backs, especially like Derrick Henry. Giants on the board at the number 5 pick. I think there were not a few ways to go here. I think defense is kind of necessary, but the offensive line also needs some help. So I'm kind of in between 2 picks here, and I'm kind of going to go off the rails based of what I've seen, and I'm going to go talent. This is definitely a position where I can see the Giants moving back, but for the sake of the game, and you know what? No, I am. I think you got to go best available. If I'm a GM, I think you've got to go Sonny Styles. I think you've got to. You got to go best on the board on the defensive. Oh my gosh. I think I messed up here. Shit, they need corner help. We have freaking Downs there. Is he gonna last that long though?
Think about who the head coach is.
Yeah, I
What he
know.
what he had at Baltimore with
Well,
Kyle
I
Hamilton.
know, but yeah, but that's my problem here. Is but they had defensive names. They had such big defensive names too at all positions. On paper, this was a crazy team last year that did absolutely nothing on the defensive side. I'm happy with the offensive side for New York right now, given the exception of the offensive line. So if I wanted to go offensive line, like Spencer Fano is where I would go, but you've got such defensive talent, especially with Sonny Styles still on the board, freaking nature. You know what? All right. I've spent enough time on this. I think I've got two names written down here, and I don't like myself for picking this one where I did, and I think Jacob is going to yell at me even more. But I had the second name on here because I think it kind of completes his offense.
You
He might
talking
even hate
are
me
you
because it's coming
you
from the
talking
same
about New
team.
York or Cleveland right now?
New York,
I need an official
right?
pick. You going Sonny Styles? You going Cardinal Tate?
I'm going Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate goes number 5. I don't think the Giants stay here unless they pick defense. But Carnell Tate, I think, completes the offensive core for them. They desperately need some offensive line help. But you got BTJ. No, not BTJ.
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors. There's so many LSU people. Malik Neighbors, Carnell Tate. You're going to have Cam Scatterbo in the backfield. I think Carnell Tate added a fantastic piece that helps the pass game run along. So give me Carnell Tate going to the Giants.
I don't hate the pick. I was probably gonna lean Downs just because of Harbaugh. He loves a safety, but I don't hate the Cardinal Tate pick. You add a nice 1-2 punch and with Neighbors and Dart, and you giving him the weapons with Scatterbo.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard offense, especially in the NFC East, where you're gonna have to score points. So I don't hate it. You have Cleveland. A lot of mocks have Cleveland projected trade with Dallas, but obviously that trade is not official. So the Browns are currently in the 6th spot. So DJ, this is all you.
Another position that I hate to be in if I'm the Browns and I stay in this spot. Like you said, there's a high probability that they trade with Dallas. For what the team needs right now with the 6th overall pick, I'm going Spencer Fano out of Utah. I think the offensive line is just miserable, really miserable for Cleveland. They need quarterback. They need protection of their quarterback. Cleveland needs a lot right now. And I think a great offensive tackle is the way to start this climb back to relevancy, if you will.
Yeah, don't hate the pick. I think it's a good move offensively. You got to protect the quarterback first and foremost. There, I have the Commanders here at 7. Man,
Can I take this pick just because I'm Washington based as well? I've got a lot of insight. Actually, you know what? Let's play the game. Let's play the game. Huh?
play the game and then give me your Washington insight and see how accurate
Okay.
it is. Well,
All
with
right.
Cardinal Tate off the board, that's where I was going to go if he was still there. But with him being gone, defensively, this puts Washington in a really interesting spot. And I think that as much as Sonny Styles is the freak that he is, I don't think that's the piece Washington needs. I think they need a legit pass rusher. So I'm leaning towards Ruben Bain here to be in this spot. Obviously, if the Giants go, I do expect Dallas to make this trade up for Sonny Styles. I just don't know who they're going to make it with. And obviously, they're not going to do it with a division rival. But again, I think as much as I love Sonny Styles and the freak that he is, I think Washington doesn't need this kind of hybrid linebacker edge rusher guy. They need a guy who can get after a pass rusher every snap. So that being said, I went with Ruben Bain. The arms is a question mark, sure, but the tape tells you he bullies guys. He eats them alive, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like, you saw what he did against Indiana, and that was the best offensive line in the country, and he took their lunch money. So I took Ruben Bain. What is your insight up there in DC?
They are really looking for a wide receiver to kind of help with Scary Terry out wide. So Carnell Tate, should he last that long, I really feel like they'll scoop him up. But on the defensive side, and I'm surprised you didn't go with it with the availability, is Caleb Downs. They really like the secondary hybrid role, kind of more so that safety that could come up and play linebacker, who is a ball hawk, physical, plays well in both the pass and the run game. So as much as you need somebody to get to the quarterback, you also have somebody who, if the ball gets out of the quarterback's hands, can track down just about anybody and can read an offense as well as Caleb Downs can. That's kind of the insight that I've had, the slight bit of it, but we'll get to see there. Your boy will be there firsthand to interview the first round pick for the Commanders, actually. So
yeah, I'm fairly. I am over. Obviously, our board's shaking out differently, but I'm like 90% confident that it's going to come down to Carnell Tate. So
right. So I think a large part will be who of the defensive menaces in this draft will still be there as well.
Yeah, I love Sonny Styles. The Caleb Downs I like. I just feel like the Commanders need an edge rusher, someone with a name, someone with pop, someone who can get out. Like, because the thing is, you're in a division with Dart, Prescott, and Hurts. Got to get out. Getting after the quarterback's premium in that division.
Right.
And he's a good run stopper. I have the Saints here. The Saints list is interesting. There's two ways I see it. I can go Jordan Tyson, pair him up with Chris Olave, or really fix the defense and get you a versatile guy, play two ways. And with that, I'm leaning towards Sonny Styles going to the Saints in this mix. As much as I think they may go wide receiver here, I just don't see how you let a guy like Sonny Styles stay on the board this long. And then you can do more with him. Like, you can put him at linebacker, you can drop into coverage, he can get after the quarterback. He's super athletic, and they're in a division where it's super weak. And having a guy like Sonny Styles to maybe be like a Levante David-esque type of guy, just be a total game wrecker, I think is going to go far for them. So I really like Sonny Styles in that matchup there.
Yes, for kind of what they need secondary-wise, kind of that secondary to mid, I'm kind of surprised you didn't take Downs with the availability, but I don't think you could go wrong with picking Sonny Styles in any capacity, really.
It's just a positional value to me.
Right.
Of the corner is a tough one. Not corner of the safety is tough at times.
No, for sure. And speaking of all that, with the 9th pick, Kansas City really lost a good chunk of its secondary in this past offseason. Trent McDuffie, Brian Cook, Leo Chanel, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams. They're really struggling on that secondary for their defense. And so, I think now you could kind of go two directions. I think Ruben Bain is off the board, right?
Say again?
Ruben Bain.
He's off the board.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I kind of had him put in this role. I've got a couple other names. I've got Mansour Delaney. Delaney? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Would be a kind of the perfect pick right here, but I think again I'm kind of going to go down to value, and I know it comes off possibly as a little biased, but I really think the value right here of Caleb Downs is undeniable. Falling to number 9 and what he's able to do. So I think with number 9 pick, with the availability that he has, I think you got to go Caleb Downs. You need the secondary help, you need the safety over top help. He can play in coverage. He can go man to man. He's just versatile. Kind of gives you everything you need. And again, at the number 9 pick and him still being on the board, I think there's a tremendous amount of value there. So Kansas City gets Caleb Downs. I didn't even have him falling this far, which is wild.
Like the pick, I think it makes sense because they traded away some guys, and it just makes sense for them to replenish. I could see them going Jordan Tyson to try and get a true wide receiver 1 because Rashee Rice is always in legal trouble. So there's that going for him. I have the Giants at the 10th spot, and the Giants went with a wide receiver, and they traded away Dexter Lawrence. That's how they got to the 10th spot. Makes me wonder if they want to go with Mansour Delaney here. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of protecting Jackson Dart. And I love the Miami offensive line, Francis Mauigoa. He's big, strong. You're probably going to have to put him at guard for a little bit. Maybe he turns into a right tackle. But I just love the fit there. To me, he's 6'6", 329. Like, he played, I think, left tackle in college. He only gave up 2 sacks in the last 2 seasons. He doesn't give up pressures. So now we're going to buy some time for Dart to throw the ball. And so for me, I think Francis Mauigoa going to the Giants paired with Cardinal Tate bolster the offense up some more. I think is a great move to be in the top 10. But I could also see them going Mansour Delane to shore up that secondary.
Yeah, and this year at the 11th spot, let me tell you who's in the weirdest spot of them all is Miami here. Because there's not a whole lot that they don't need. And it really depends on just where they want to start. They need a tremendous amount of defensive help. They have no wide receiver room. Their offensive line is garbage. Example one is Tua and his head injuries. So where do you start here? I think if I'm the GM of the Dolphins, and what's worked for teams in the past is protecting your quarterback. So this is me being the GM of the Dolphins. You're going to go offensive line, and you're going to go Penn State. They go Loan.
So let me pull them up. You're on the Penn State offensive line. Ione. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Ione, yes. Vega Ione. I think massive human being. Let me pull up stats here. 329. I just think you need to start. You need to start somewhere. I think you got to start on this offensive line. He's a veteran guy for this Penn State offense who had a lot of trouble figuring out its steps. But if Penn State could hold its head on anything, it's kind of the offensive line. If I'm being frank here, they were able to create space for their running back. Drew Allard was for the most part very well protected as a quarterback. He just wasn't a great quarterback. So I think Miami. I think Miami start with the offensive line. That's where all these great teams in the past few years have dominated. And Vega Ione, as Jacob said.
I got Dallas. I'm in between here because I think the offense for Dallas is fine. You have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. You have Jake Ferguson, who is a great tight end. I don't think they're going to go Kenyon Sadiq here. I'm turning towards the defense, and I'm not sure I want to waste a pick this high on a guy of like Akeem Mesidor. That makes me pause a little bit for what the value in the talent is. Excuse me. But they could not stop anybody in the air last year, regardless if the pass rusher was there or not. So with that, I think you take the best corner, Mansour Delane, out of LSU. Submit it. Obviously, I truly think Dallas is going to trade up for Sonny Styles. But obviously, with the way our board is shaking out, I think you go Mansour Delane. I don't think you'd think twice about it. 6-foot corner, so he has the size. 4'3", 8 at his pro day, has great man-to-man. Opposing quarterbacks only completed 27% of their passes to him, third lowest rate in the country. So put him on your number one guy, stick him out a little bit on an island. They really need a lockdown corner since Trayvon Diggs is no longer on the team. So with that, I think you go Mansour Delane. Don't think twice about it. I think it's a great pick at 12.
Yeah, and with that, I'll have the Rams at 13, I believe. And I don't know that I expect them to stay in this spot either. I think I'm going to say that they'll probably trade back. Though they would be in a pretty good position to trade up as well if they so choose. But given how their year went last year, I don't really know that they need to. They could take the prospects for the coming year. But where they fall now, they really need a wide receiver. Devontae Adams getting old, Puka Nacua, a little bit of an oddball.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with Nacua right now.
As a GM, especially if I'm the Rams, I'm a little nervous about it. I'd be a little nervous, though. Matthew Stafford has had quite the bit of luck with some rookie wide receivers, and I think the easy spot here, if I'm looking at what everybody's told me in production, I think the easy spot here is to go Mekhi Lemon from USC. The Big Ten wide receiver of the year, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns last year. I know people have looked at him a little interestingly as he looked kind of like he didn't care during his combine interviews and just kind of did not give off the best impression. But I think if you look at his route running, his ability to catch the ball, his size is probably a little smaller than what you would like. But again, the Rams especially have done really well at making use of, smaller wide receivers coming out of college. You look at Cooper Kupp. Again, we have Puka Nacua. Obviously this offense is led by a veteran in Devontae Adams, who's not small, but, it'll give Makai Lemon the ability to be open, to get open, to work and develop possibly very quickly into whatever you decide to use him as. And he gets to go back to his home state of California.
Yeah. I'm not on the Makai Lemon hype train. I kind of have been on this hype train. I don't see it. I think he's a weirdo, personally. Combine gave me a lot of red flags. I didn't think he looked that great at the Combine either. The tape tells me a different story, though, so maybe he's just like a football guy. I also wouldn't hate the Rams going Kenyon Sadiq here. Just get you an ultimate freakish tight end. Just go win the Super Bowl. Worry about it later, type of deal. That's my thought process. Because they didn't have a true tight end. Add in Kenyon Sadiq. Get you a guy who ran a 4.3 as a tight end. Just destroy everyone. Just do it. I don't mind that, but I don't mind a Makai Lemon and prepare for the future. But yeah, I have the Ravens here at 14. I think they go offensive line. Protect Lamar.
One could only hope.
Protect Lamar. Increase the run game. Let's go get you an absolute freak in Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle out of Georgia. This guy is big. 6'7", 315 pounds, 34 and a 3/4 inch arms. He just eats guys alive. Unbelievable talent there. I think that's a great move for Baltimore to do that. Just protect Lamar, add to the run game. So I just don't see them going Kenyon Sadiq here. You still have Mark Andrews, but I think there's bigger issues than tight end for you if you're the Ravens.
Yeah, the Ravens have some interesting things to figure it out, especially on the defensive side. Because that defense was bad last year. But moving on from them, if I can get this off my screen, we've got Tampa Bay with the 15th overall pick. Akeem Mesidor is off the board, yeah? Mesidor? No. Interesting. So we've got a little bit of a situation here because there are two picks here that I really like for Tampa Bay. And everything that I've read seems to lean that Tampa Bay goes defense here. You brought up a name that would be very interesting if they did decide to go offense and Kenyon Sadiq, right, catch a big body tight end that kind of replaces that Mike Evans type of player, right? Mike Evans, not a tight end, but a big wide receiver. Kenyon Sadiq is a tight end who plays a big wide receiver role. And then you have two defensive menaces on the defensive end in Keldrick Falk and Akeem Mesidor, and I'm kind of in a pickle here. I think I like the tape of Akeem Mesidor a little bit better, and maybe it's just a little bit of recency bias, but I don't think anybody for what the Tampa Bay Bucks need would be too upset with me. So with that being said, Akeem Mesidor will be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I actually had him on the list too, so I didn't like that I had to make that decision, but got to when you're the GM.
So the Jets are on the board now. Interesting stuff to go here. I'm shocked this guy has fallen a little bit, given some people have him as the best wide receiver when healthy. I think the Jets go wide receiver here. Honestly, I don't see this guy falling to the Jets, but I could. The board's shaking out this way, obviously. So that being said, Arizona State wide receiver Jordan Tyson. You're going to be a Jet. I think it's a good fit. I think he can high point any ball. Question is who's throwing him the ball. But you pair him up with Garrett Wilson. Now you have a 1-2 threat on the outside. Garrett Wilson could probably slide back into the slot now that Tyson's there, because Tyson's a big body, big frame. He can, again, go high point the ball. He wins a ton of his one-on-one battles. And with that, I just think for Tyson, 6'2", 203, He has the lingering hamstring issue, but when healthy, there's no one better. So I'm going Jordan Tyson for the New York Jets. DJ, you have the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions have an obvious need in offensive line help. If I'm not mistaken, Monroe Freeling is off the board, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to double check that. And so I think you got to go with another, very experienced, polished pass blocker here to protect Jared Goff. And I think Caleb Lomu from Utah is that guy. We've got a 6'6", 313-pound offensive lineman. Like I said, polished pass blocking, very flexible, power forward, body type, huge, kind of slimmer, probably for that role, but it's just solid muscle. He's not that massive round tummy linebacker. He's that physical, I'm gonna bully you type of offensive lineman. Utah, with the kind of sporadic offense that they've had the last couple of years, kind of makes in I think a kind of a wild card. You can kind of use them in different types of offense, which is going to be huge because you've got a great pass game with Jared Goff and you've got a great run game with Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield. So I very much like this pick for the Lions.
Minnesota's on the board. Luckily, this shook out. They came to me. I'm very convinced.
Oh, that's right.
I'm very convinced they're going to go a safety for this draft. Now, is it going to be the Toledo safety, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, or is it going to be Dylan Thieneman of Oregon? And I think it's Dylan Thieneman of Oregon. This guy's a freak when you watch him on paper. Lays big hits. Ball hawk's great. He had 6 interceptions as a true freshman at Purdue before he went over to Oregon. He has great vision. He can immediately have an impact on this defense for Minnesota. I played with the idea of Kenyon Sadiq since they're trying to move off of TJ Hawkinson, but I think the defense needs to be addressed here. So I see them going Dylan Thieneman of Oregon to the Minnesota Vikings. I'm like 90% convinced it's this guy. I'm like 99% sure it's going to be a safety.
Well, that was a mighty good pick because he was going to be my pick for the Panthers. But, as the GMs do, the great GMs do, we move around. And with the 15th pick, draft the Carolina Panthers select Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo. He is, like you said, very close to Dylan Thieneman as far as like prospects go, but 36 solo tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 6 pass deflections last year. I think Toledo is starting to become one of those kind of corner production teams. There's another Toledo corner.
Quinyon Mitchell.
Yes, Philly right now. Is he in Philly? So I kind of like these picks coming from Toledo, man. I think they're starting to become a little factory over there for the Rockets, man. Yeah, I think big body frame, 6'2", 202, kind of get physical.
Yeah,
right. He's not going to get shoved around very easily. He's very quick.
Love his tape.
So,
he's really good.
The stats back up the tape too.
Love the tape. Pops off the screen. You can just tell that guy should not be playing at Toledo, but in an age of NIL, stayed at a place that he felt was going to get him developed. And look at him now; he's going to go in the first round. So
and that's going to be huge for Toledo as a
program
/ organization. First round picks the last few years.
Yeah,
that's going to be big.
Hold on, Kara called. Cowboys are back on the board again. This pick will probably be part of the trade that goes to Cleveland to Sonny Styles. That's what a lot of people are projecting. But, again, we don't have that. I will say, if Kenyon Sadiq's on the board for Carolina, don't be surprised if they go that route. Give Bryce Young another pass catcher. Oh, another thing to keep on the brain. Cowboys are interesting because we went defense there. Keem Mesidor's off the board. I'm looking at this going, okay, we need to address defensive line. 100% need to address the D-line. I don't think it's a reach for this guy. I like his talent. 6'2", 241. Fringe first-round guy. He's got sub-32-inch arms, but he has great hands, can get underneath tackles. He has 21 run stops. Quad injury held him there. I'm also like this guy here might be it too. Drew
I need
Jr.
you to
has
get to it. I need to know. I need to know who you're teasing
82
me
inch
with.
wingspan. I think when I look at it, I like the talent of R. Mason Thomas here from Oklahoma. I could see them go Kedrick Folk from Auburn, but I think you just get Falk's again more of a kind of a project defensive end, just in terms of the sack numbers. Versus Mason Thomas has the talent. He has the numbers to back it up. I love the run stopping ability. I think this is a good slot for him in this point of the draft. I don't think you're reaching for him given, like, I'm looking on Field Yates. He's number 24 on Field Yates' big board. I believe he goes a little bit later in Mel Kiper's final mock draft. I believe he's a second round pick here, wherever he is. And he's pick 40 for Mel Kiper. But again, I don't expect the Cowboys to have this number 20 pick because I think they're going to trade up and go get the elite guy. But again, we're going to play the board how it is. They're going to go a defensive end if for some reason they decide to stay put. It's between Falk and Thomas for me. And I think Thomas, the intangibles are a little bit better. If we're trying to replace Micah Parsons' absence, we need to take some more tangibles.
Okay. I like that. I got another interesting team right here. Not as interesting as the Cowboys and what they might do.
Where do the Steelers go, man?
They're stuck in
Aaron Rodgers' purgatory again.
But I don't. Here's what I'm reading into this team right now. Mike McCarthy is a quarterback development machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. There is a stepping stone to all of this. I mean, he didn't see obviously all the way through for Jordan Love, but he's got a knack for picking who's next, right? I think that this pickup for the Steelers of Mike McCarthy is to develop Will Howard into what Jordan Love has become as maybe not the best quarterback in the league, but a top tier quarterback, a very valuable quarterback at worst. And to what Aaron Rodgers has been and Brett Favre was. And so I don't think they're going to go quarterback because the easy solution would be, you know what, let's bring in Ty Simpson. But then you're expecting somebody to just come in and Mike McCarthy to develop. And I don't know that I like that for Mike McCarthy's past in the help of development. So now you've got Will Howard, who's been there for a year. Right? You bring in Mike McCarthy. He already knows. He's probably already learned. Will Howard's probably already learned a lot from from Aaron Rodgers. And now they're going to further this, right, with the Mike McCarthy pickup as head coach. And so, but the biggest need for them is going to be offensive line. And I think the best on the board right now, if I'm got my numbers correctly, is they're going to go to Alabama. They're going to pick up Caden Proctor. Let me pull up Caden Proctor real quick. Excuse me. Caden Proctor, 6'7", 359. Definitely going to help in the pass game, which was very hard for an old Aaron Rodgers to do. He's going to be big body in the run game. And I think just he's a young guy too, so he's got the chance to develop, or he's on the younger side, if you will, for NFL talent standards. I think that's just where you got to start. I think your wide receiver core is going to be great. You've got DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman, right? You've got maybe it's a little bit of a question mark. Bless you.
Thank you.
At the running back position, but if Will Howard's a big body frame, he's got the ability to run the ball, right? He's very much Aaron Rodgers-esque of old, and so if he can develop into what I think he could be, again, Ohio State guy, could come off as a little biased, but he was very accurate in college. He's going to have the weapons out wide to help. They just need protection, and I think Caden Proctor is the way to go here.
Looking at the Chargers, I think this one almost, like at this point in the draft, is a no-brainer. We're going to go get Kenyon Sadiq. Add to that talent, I think they may probably have bigger needs than tight end, but the talent like that to pair up with Justin Herbert to just give them another freak athlete to throw to. Like, I see them, maybe going defense. I think some other offensive linemen could be there. That's different. But Kenyon Sadiq falling this far just feels like a slam dunk. Perfect fit throw him in LA, let him cook with Herbert and gosh, I'm blanking and Quinion Johnston and I'm blanking on
Quentin?
the white
Quentin
wide
Johnston.
receiver. Blanking on his name.
From Georgia.
Yep. Blanking on it. But that's okay. But I think you just add him there with what they have. Give Herbert another athlete. He loves it. He loved the tight end. I think you can develop that with Hardball.
McConkey.
Yep, there it is.
Bad McConkey.
Yep. So Eagles are now on the board. DJ.
Yeah, Eagles another interesting team because there is not a whole lot that they absolutely need, but they have a knack for picking some great talent, and with the absence of, it's not Hollywood Brown, right?
No,
Who
they
is-
don't have AJ Brown.
AJ Brown, excuse me. Sorry, there's too many of them in the league. Wide receiver is going to be on the board. Offensive tackles always need some help. The edge could also be something that they look at. I've seen mocks of Chris Bell going, TJ Parker going. If I thought that Kenyon Sadiq would last this long, I think it would be an absolute criminal-like thing to do for them to pick up Kenyon Sadiq. But as Jacob just took them off the board, I'm left with very few picks here. And I think that I'm going to go with the edge because I kind of like them picking up the defense here. I'm going to go TJ Parker from Clemson, 6'3", 265. Kind of a big body, can stop the run in the trenches. He had 5 sacks last year, 11 in 2024. I think the upside for him is very big. I think he's going to go with a big a great defensive line, and he's going to have a lot to learn there. And so, again, the last year was not his best year of his 3 at Clemson, but again, I think with the ability to learn from very experienced personnel, especially on that defensive side, that he's gonna have a tremendous upside, and I feel like that's a kind of a sneaky pick for Philadelphia, like those sneaky picks that they do tend to have.
You have the Browns.
Excuse me, sorry. The Browns with number 24 pick. Let me go back to my other list here. The Browns are in desperate need. Let me see here. Goodness gracious. Kind of another place that they need help everywhere. There are 2 places that I really like them going. I can see them going wide receiver, especially if this guy lasts as long as they do, or I can see them going on to the defensive side. I would love to see some extra help on the defensive line, but I think the more desperate will be getting the offense put together. The more desperate strategy right now is giving whoever they decide to start at quarterback as many weapons as they can. So with what pick is this, 25th?
24. 20. Yeah.
The Browns select Jeremy Bernard from Alabama.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of an underrated pick, I think. But again, big body receiver, very productive, stepped up tremendously from a down year or after a down year from Ryan Williams, because he obviously had a tremendous rookie or freshman season. But 17-year-old. But Bernard really took an experienced / just a higher level role this year in the productivity of that Alabama offense. So I think he could serve as a great asset to the Cleveland Browns.
I got the Bears here and the Bills. Bears, I'm going to keep it super simple. I like where the offense is. You're going to open it up with the run game with Swift and Manungai. You have, Roma Dunze turning into wide receiver 1, Luther Burden being wide receiver 2. So let's address the defense. Let's bring home another Mizzou guy. This guy has been pretty much paired with Chicago every single mock draft that I see. I love the pick, selfishly. Looking back at it, I'm like, man, I should have put him in front of our Mason Thomas. But Zion Young from Mizzou, this guy had an amazing Senior Bowl. He's a dog in the trenches. They had Montez Sweat. They're going to give him a running mate. Young had 6.5 sacks, 46 pressures, and 18 tackles for losses last season. He had a great Senior Bowl. I love the talent from Zion Young. He's a real difference maker on that defensive line. For Mizzou, he was legit. Obviously, I'm a little bit worried more in terms of like how he acts sometimes, because sometimes he goes a little nuts, and it's like, okay, yikes, like why? What happened there? You know, he caused Mizzou a couple dumb penalties that drove me nuts, but I think he's a great fit for Chicago. 6'6", 262, heavy hands, bullies guys. Love Zion Young going to the Bears. Bills here is interesting. Interesting stuff, right? Because you have James Cook. You have a pretty good offensive line. You traded for DJ Moore. And now the question that I'm wondering is, do we go grab a number 2 wide receiver? Because I'm not convinced that I want to address defense. I think obviously pass rusher is probably a pretty big need for them, but I really think you got to get like a wide receiver here. And you went with Jeremy Bernard. I'm going to go Omar Cooper Jr. Really, really consistent hands. Really great use of the frame. He's going to pair really well with DJ Moore. You can probably let DJ Moore be a little bit more of a gadget guy, maybe more Deebo Samuel-like. So Omar Cooper can work on the outside. These guys can flip inside and out. I love Omar Cooper Jr. going to the Bills. I think that's like the right fit. If they choose not to go offense, Kedrick Folk here, defensive end for Buffalo, is probably my next pick there as well. But we're on the Niners, DJ.
Yeah, the Niners have some pretty obvious needs on the offensive side with their offensive line and their tight end position. Unfortunately, they signed Mike Evans. Christian Kirk, is not an old man, but he's been around town. And you need to protect Brock Purdy, but you also have an injury-prone tight end. In name I'm forgetting, George Kittle, who is just not reliable at the moment. And so where do you go there? Do you kind of help with the pass catching ability, or do you go protection? It would be so foolish of them, I think, to go get a tight end so early. I think they've got to go offensive line or offensive tackle. And I think the next best that's on the board is Caleb Lomu. Still on the board?
No, he's been gone, brother.
He's been gone. I picked him up, on 17? So, sorry, just double checking. Then I think the next best is going to go, if you haven't picked him up already, Max Ikeanaker.
Yep. And something like
321 from Arizona State. He's a physical guy. He ran the second fastest time amongst offensive linemen in the combine for the 40. The 49ers are in a tough spot here because they need somebody solid. They could be in a position to trade up possibly, but right now I think you just got to go based on what the best on the board is. And for what their need is, I think that's where they're going to need to go, personally.
Love it.
Not my most intuitive, breakdown, but that's what they need. It's where they fall.
Don't hate it. Texans are on the board for me. I see in a lot of mock drafts them going defense, and I'm like, for what? They have an elite defense. We're just going to make the defense better. How about we get someone to freaking protect CJ Stroud?
Yeah.
Let's rebuild the interior of that offensive line. To me, I think the next best guy, I'm leaning towards Keelan Rutledge. He only gave up 2 sacks in college. He's a guard out of Georgia Tech. I just think you got to protect CJ Stroud. That's literally my only logic, is like a lot of these offensive linemen have been taken off the board. Add another one to the list because this guy needs protection there. I also can see them going Jadarian Price because of the whole Joe Mixon situation as well. I could see them going Jadarian Price. But I think you got to go offensive line. You have the Chiefs again at 30. Not 30, at 29.
Yep. Chiefs at 29. They need some help on the defensive side. And I think so there's 2 concepts you could go here. You could go the edge rusher, or you could go best on the board. And you've kind of got this hybrid defensive end in Keldrick Folk, who I believe is still on the board, correct?
Yes.
or you got who I think is the better overall prospect in Caden McDonald that's still on the board as well. And I think, unfortunately, my bias I have to set to the side here and go team need. I think you go Kendrick Falk from Auburn. I think the hybrid, again, when you look at that defensive end position, you kind of need somebody who plays a hybrid role. And I think that Caden McDonald is just too, well, he is. He just is one-dimensional. He's an absolute beast. But I think Falk offers the ability to move him out to linebacker, play a different role. Did not have the most statistically great year this past year. He had a great sophomore season, 7 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, pass deflection, 30 solo tackles, and really a fraction of those happened in 2025. So you're taking a gamble, but I think you put him in a great defense to try to get the most out of him. So I like Caden McDonald a lot. I think he's fallen probably a lot further than I would have. I think I would have swapped your Missouri pick for Caden McDonald on my personal draft board. But as far as Kansas City and what their needs are, I like Falk.
Miami's on the board. Miami needs someone to throw to. I also see Miami trading out. You could see a backdoor Ty Simpson draft pick here. Arizona's been projected to do that. Multiple sources. But Dolphins are on the board for me. KC Concepcion. Just wide receiver, get him in the room, add it to Malik Willis. He had great hands out of Texas A&M. He doesn't have like breakaway speed, but he's a big body. I love what he can do, high pointing the ball, super strong hands. Put it in his radius. He's coming down with it. He's a great slot guy. Tight corners, catch it. Quick throws, that's kind of more his game to me. Obviously, he can catch the big booming throws. 6 foot, 196. Not the fastest guy in the world, but it's almost like, hey man, just throw him the ball and it's a sneaky talent for KC Concepcion. DJ, this is your last pick of the draft. This might be the quickest mock draft we've ever done, DJ.
I mean, a lot of these players, Jacob, they just don't require a lot of breakdown. Like, this draft is so first round heavy. Like, there's not a whole lot of wrong angles you can go with the picks. It's just strategic, right? Like Mendoza going number 1 is not because the freaking Raiders need a quarterback. It just makes the most sense because they need a replacement in the future. Like, Mendoza's not the best player in this draft by a long shot. But that's just an example of how crazy this draft is. But with that being said, my last pick is going to be, hold on here, for the Patriots is going to be Blake Miller from Clemson. They need offensive line help aggressively. 6'7", 317. He's an experienced guy on that offensive line. Obviously, great size, slim. Again, the physique is strong. It's put together. And so if you need him to run out and grab somebody, a linebacker or a corner in the safety on a run play, he's going to be able to do that. And so I know that Patriots are probably going to look to open up the pass game like they tried to do in the Super Bowl, but they need to protect Drake May aggressively. So I think he's the best on the board for that at the moment, and that's where they're going to go.
I have the Seahawks in the last pick. A lot of people see the Seahawks picking Jadarian Price. And to me, I don't have Price as a first-round grade. I think there's a decent amount of running backs. I think the thing is, you don't let Kenneth Walker walk if you're not confident in Charbonnet.
Right. And that's a fair breakdown.
Why? Like, I'm not interested. I'm interested in some of the key guys they let go. Like, some of these corners hit the market.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go grab another one. Colton Hood, Tennessee. Top 25 prospect for me. You're going to get him in the round at pick 32 for me? Come on, brother. This guy has some dog in him. He's pretty special. I'm trying to pull up his numbers here. Did I say Colton Hood?
Yes, you meant Jamal McCoy?
Yeah. Went with the wrong Tennessee corner. There we go.
Gotcha.
Both Tennessee corners are good, but Jamad McCoy is the right one that I want. Thank you for that. Jamad McCoy, stud. Yates has him as a pick overall 16 guy. I have him as a top 25 guy as well. The worry is the ACL, but his standalone season at Tennessee, 77-inch wingspan, 7 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, great coverage, has a 4.38 dash from Tennessee's pro day, the 38-inch vertical. This guy's a talent freak. He add the speed, add to the incredible defense. There's plenty of running backs in this draft, and if there's one thing Seattle knows how to do, it's to find talent. Add Jermod McCoy, you let some guys walk, filled the need. I think this just continues to make that secondary so hard for people to try and throw on, and you're getting such a value if he falls this far. So with that completes the 2026 NFL Draft. Obviously, we don't do first round. We didn't do any picks. We didn't trade anything, so obviously our board can look vastly different come tonight when this comes out. But other than that, really love where the board kind of laid out. Love some of the picks that I was able to get for some of these teams. But with that, DJ, any parting thoughts? You are going to be boots on the ground in Pittsburgh. Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
And where you excited? What first time's going to be pumped? We're going to need some content out of that. But DJ, first mock here. First round mock, how do you feel?
I feel pretty good. It's kind of hard, again, planning all of this, putting it all down. I've got notes here for who I want to pick if somebody's not available, and then you kind of got to go away from your bias, and then you've got to, also pick your team needs. Like, teams will draft and can draft in some certain circumstances, should draft based on the level of talent, not necessarily what they need. It's almost like this reverse psychology. Like, if Caleb Downs fell into the 20s, right, somebody should just pick up Caleb Downs because he's that good of a talent. Right, versus maybe picking up what they need. Or maybe if they are lighter on what they need, they decide to go with what they need or who the best is available. And that's just something you kind of see towards the later rounds of the draft. But, just keeping that in mind, especially with the amount of talent that there is in this draft, especially this first round, it's all going to be interesting. I'm happy that I'm going to be boots on the ground, like you said. We're interviewing, or my station is interviewing Goodell on Wednesday. Kind of excited about that. He's like the second most powerful sports figure alive, behind whoever runs FIFA. It's all going to be. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be crazy, wild. And I'm going to make sure I get all the content that I can for you guys. Yeah. We're going to enjoy it.
With that, I'm pumped. I'll have an immediate draft breakdown via TikTok as DJ kind of has to do his job real quick, but also afterwards he'll give us his full experience on it on the next episode and also in the TikTok. Obviously, Stanley Cup playoffs going on, NBA playoffs going on. We'll catch that on the next episode and do a full big recap after that. Most of the first round will be completed by then or on its verge of completing. So with that, we have been The Deal with D&J. Like, comment, share, subscribe, comment on all platforms. This will be posted on our picks as a podcast will be posted on Instagram. I'm going to post my own picks as well. DJ, if you want to send me your own picks, you can. I'll make a graphic. But if not, no biggie. But I will have my official 32 on the TikTok. We do one together. I'll have my own. DJ will have his own. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We've been Deal with DJ. Catch you on the flip.